I can say without any bluster that this game is the most frustrating game I have ever gone for a full completion on. Welcome back to Socks and Sandals, and today we are getting every achievement in Wanted Dead. Wanted Dead came out February of last year, but the full completion was not made obtainable until February of this year after they patched the Severance Pays achievements and subsequently the Wanted Dead achievement. Once we start the game up, we're greeted to our protagonist, Hannah Stone, sitting alone in her prison cell. She has blonde hair at this time. I mean, I'm gonna say this: the story is kind of just a lot of it doesn't make any sense. It's hard to grasp on what exactly is going on, but I am assuming that Hannah Stone is given a job on the Hong Kong police force as some sort of early parole. So after Hannah is released from prison, we are then given a scene of our ragtag group of misfits enjoying dinner at a diner. It's a very strange scene. You get a gratuitous booby shot as the waitress bends over to pick up a fork that Herzog purposefully dropped on the floor, and there's like exposition about the company that they work for, Dower Synthetics, and then we get a call from our captain saying that there's an issue going on at the Dower HQ. So after the cutscene, we are then asked if we want to do the tutorial, which I do, mostly because I don't know how to play this game, but also that there is an achievement for it. So after we're taught how to do the combat of the game, we are given an achievement: teach me how to blitz, for completing the tutorial. Next up, we load into the game proper, and after modifying our weapon, we actually get to start taking control of Hannah and playing the game. And the second achievement I pop is a satisfying sound for killing an enemy with a headshot. Next up, I unlock Sliced, which is to sever an enemy's limb for the first time. And then shortly after that, I get Collector's Start for picking up my first collectible. It was at this time that I realized that this is one of those deceiving full completions where the game is quite generous at the start with achievements, and before you know it, you've spent nearly 4 days playing the game trying to get all of them. But after Collector's Start, I unlock So Much to Learn. This is kind of a gimme. I mean, all of these at the start of the game have been gimmies, but this one you were required to do, and it's to unlock your first skill in the skill tree. After So Much to Learn, I get Some Head, which is the name of our next achievement, and it's to see a finishing strike. Again, shortly after that, I unlock Test Shot, which is to kill 10 enemies using only guns. And after Test Shot, we unlock New Blade, which is the opposite of that, to kill 10 enemies using only the katana. So we discover a body, and they check insignias, and once we get into this... So I unlock grenades, and I attempted to kill an enemy with it, but he killed me, and as I was respawning, the grenade blew up and activated the sprinklers. I didn't realize this at the time. I didn't know how the sprinklers got activated. I didn't even see the sprinklers go off, so I didn't know exactly why I got that achievement at the time, but rewatching it here, I actually saw it. Next up, we got With One Stone, and it's another grenade-oriented achievement. It's to kill 2 or more enemies with 1 grenade. Next up, I got Headhunter, which is to get 10 headshot kills. I unlocked it shortly after with 1 stone. And then I got Skillful Blade, which is to successfully perform 10 parries. Like I said, I was struggling with the game. I was not really understanding the parry mechanic. So this first playthrough, at least like probably until I got into the 3rd chapter, I was constantly failing the parries. But even my inability to play a video game, I unlocked the achievement to get 10 of them. So that's great. After Skillful Blade, I unlock Dismissed, which is to see 20 different finishing strikes. I was really worried about getting the finishing strikes because, like I said at the start, the Severance Pays achievement, which is to see all finishing strikes, was the bugged achievement. And with the finishing strikes being somewhat random on what you can get, I was definitely wanting to get any opportunity to do a finisher that I could to kind of make sure that at least by the time I was done playing the story, I had done all of them. That way I wasn't running around like farming one enemy trying to get the finisher. So that was definitely one of the achievements that worried me at the start of this playthrough. After Dismissed, I unlocked Skillful Draw. So the other one was to get the parries. Skillful Draw is to get handgun counters, and I was absolute dog ass at the handgun counters still after playing the game and getting all of the achievements for it. And it's in this room that I got to my first difficult portion of the game. So it's a basic onslaught of the grunts. There's also, I'm just going to call him a commander. It's the dude that wears the pink suit. He's constantly shouting on your guard and reinforcements. Those are his 2 lines, and he's just constantly saying it. There are tons of the blade wielding enemies in this room, and once you actually get through the room, you then have to face your first encounter with the Black Ninja. And before, I believe it was the 2nd update, before then, there was no checkpoint once you reached the ninja. You had to do this entire encounter with all these grunts and the blade-wielding enemies, and then you had to fight the ninja before you can actually get your get the checkpoint. Without the skill in the skill tree, you only have 3 healing items, and if you've unlocked the grenade, you only get 3 grenades. And it was tough. But I can say that I did this encounter before the patch. I did it how it originally came out. But like I said, I was still struggling with the combat, getting the parries, the handgun counter. Yeah, so this room was the first time that I was like, this game is hard. So after Skillful Draw, I got Sliced and Diced, which is to sever 100 enemy limbs. So we're slicing limbs off left and right. We've already cut off 100 of them, and it's still only the first chapter. After Sliced and Diced, we got What a Mess, which is to get 10 kills to kill 10 enemies with the chainsaw. So once you get out of the Japanese-styled room, you come into a Japanese garden, and this is the first time you're going to encounter the chainsaw, and I guess the game planned it this way because they then just send a whole fucking army of the blade-wielding enemies at you. And I sought this opportunity to go ahead and kill 10 of them to unlock my What a Mess achievement. After What a Mess, we then get Dour Synthetics for actually beating this chapter. At the end of this chapter, we have to fight a spider tank, and this boss battle is bullshit. So if you're not facing... So the first phase is okay. I mean, as long as you avoid his laser that he shoots out, it's pretty easy not to take damage here. The thing you've got to worry about during the first phase are the grenade launcher dudes, because, you know, if that grenade even thinks about coming near you, you're dead. Especially on hard, it's a fucking insta-kill. The second phase is the bullshit part. The tank suddenly gains super speed, and if you're not looking right at him, it just seems that he is just attracted. I'm calling it a he. It's a machine. It's just attracted to you, and even if, like... So what he'll do is he'll run and then slide. And even if his slide is like damn near at the end of its animation, if it touches you just like by an inch, it drains your fucking health bar. And obviously you're trying to avoid all the grenade launcher people. You're trying to take him out. And it just fucking sucks. I hate this fight. And sometimes he'll glitch through the fucking wall or up onto the stage and you can't get the finisher on him. But I was finally able to beat the tank, and with that we beat the first chapter. Richter shows up at the end and I guess is going to arrest us. I don't know what Richter does. He's dressed like a fucking general, but I don't know. He's commanding some sort of militia, but our captain shows up and gets Richter to stand down, and we're free to go. But,
You better put him on a leash, Captain.
Let him go, Richter.
so once we get our first chance to wander around the Kowloon Police Department, I head up to the break area. For some reason, the music during this first visit to the police station is like foreboding. I decide to change it to I Touch Myself.
I don't know. Maybe she's out walking her cats.
And because this music is probably copyrighted, I decided to take my frustration out on the claw machine and unlock the achievement Hooligan. And to make it up to the claw machine, I decided to actually play the mini game and grab some of the figures in the machine and unlock the Just a Hobby achievement for obtaining 10 collectibles. After that, I decided to just go ahead and run the gambit of all of the mini games you can do in the police station. So I started doing the training levels, and I complete training level 1, unlocking the beginner achievement. I then move on to training level 2 and unlock the intermediate achievement. And once in training level 3, I unlock Quick Draw Gunner for hitting 3 or more targets in 1 bullet time. And after that, I complete training level 3, unlocking Advanced. And then inside training level 4, which is really the only training level that gave me any sort of problem, I unlocked Bloodied Blade for defeating 100 enemies using the melee weapon only. And after finally beating the 4th training level, I unlocked Professional. And because I earned so many skill points from doing the training levels, I decided to spend it on some actual skills and unlocked the Got It Memorized for purchasing 10 skills. I then moved on to the shooting range and unlocked Quick Shot for getting a score of 10,000 or more in the shooting range time attack. I then unlocked Deadeye for getting 10,000 or more in the shooting range score attack. And finally unlocked Sore Loser for getting a score of 13,000 or more in the shooting range. I found the time attack to be the easier one, and when I did this originally, I didn't realize that you can change your weapon from semi-automatic to just, what would they call that, where it's a single shot, but I ended up doing it just in the semi-auto form. But yeah, the time attack shooting range minigame was much easier for me. Next up, we are then introduced to the ramen rhythm game, and this mini game, at least in its original form, was one of the hardest achievements I had ever gone for. But before that, I completed I Got Room for eating 5 bowls in the ramen mini game. And afterwards, I spent days. I mean, not like playing days consecutively, but would come back days later trying to get this. It was at least a few hours of trying for Ramen World Legend. When this game originally launched, in order to get Ramen World Legend, you had to complete the entire 7-minute song without missing a note. The Killer Ramen, at least when I did this, was the easiest song to do this on. And like I said, I love rhythm games, so this was sort of like I knew I could do it, but the issue with this mini game is that it's not synced properly. You have to hit the button before the icon actually moves over your cursor. So it took me a few tries to actually get that rhythm down. Now, you can't have any misses, but you can have a bad button press. And for the first 5 bowls, once you get past bowl 5, it loops. It's the same. Well, it'll add different variations. That's another thing about it. Rock Band rhythm mini game, or a Rock Band track, it's the same notes. Like, you can practice and you know what's coming up. You know what portions to practice on. This one has a random element to it where it'll normally be the same sequence of notes, but they'll jumble them up. Like, you can know what to expect on the 5th bowl, but you don't know which sequence of notes it's going to do. So you just kind of have to, like, keep trying until you get lucky and it's a sequence of notes that you know you can do. And that's what I ended up doing, is I would keep practicing parts that I knew would trip me up, and then decided to do a full run through of it. I had several ones where I would literally fuck up like the final note or on the final bowl. And like I said, this is 7 minutes of just the same fucking song. And for anyone that's attempting to do like 100% on a rhythm game, you know how stressful it gets as it gets closer to the end. It just gets so just unbearable. But finally, I was able to do it. They have since patched it. The most recent patch, you don't have to do the entire song. You just have to get a 250 note combo, which is somewhat more bullshit because, yeah, you don't have to do the entire song, but at least you can get a bad note press. With the 250 point combo, you can't have any bad presses because a bad press cancels your combo. So that kind of sucks, but it is far more doable than the previous state it was. But I can say that I was able to do it before they made the quality of life change. Unfortunately, the next achievement, I didn't actually get footage captured. I don't know why. I had put in the It's their variation of a Konami code. It's up, up, or it's up, down, left, left, right, right. And it unlocks all mini games. So I use that to do the karaoke mini game. And the next achievement we got is on fire for filling your adrenaline gauge in karaoke. Again, this is another rhythm game, except it's just 99 Luft balloons. The timing is still bad, but, you know, it's still doable. It's far more doable than the original form of Ramen World Legend, but... So, after getting on fire, I then unlocked Uncle Owen, which is to kill 3 or more enemies with an incendiary grenade, so kind of a happy accident there. I did it in the Kowloon Park section. We were sent to Kowloon Park. Apparently, a bunch of androids were rioting in the park, so we were sent there to quell the riot, and by quell the riot, we killed every last one of those motherfuckers. And during the final boss battle with August, I got my Uncle Owen achievement. The August boss battle is probably the toughest boss battle in the game, simply because you're having to not only deal with August shooting grenades at you while you fight literally like 15 fucking androids. Until you learn the trick of this fight is bullshit. And even after you learn it, on the harder difficulties, August is a motherfucker. But, once you learn the trick, he's kind of doable. But, after beating August and completing Kowloon Park, we unlock the achievement, Kowloon Park. After that, I unlocked the achievement True Shot, which is to defeat 100 enemies only using the gun, which I got in the 3rd chapter. So the enemies in the 3rd chapter are just normal people, and they take about like 2 or 3 shots. They're kind of weak. They hit hard, but they're definitely not as strong as the androids or the, I don't know, tactical people from the 1st chapter. But because I noticed that these guys weren't as strong, I decided to go for the 2 other achievements that I just wasn't going to get without trying. Slide by being the most egregious in particular. So I just ran around the room and would do the sliding technique and then just fire until I got my 10 kills by sliding. And then I got Your Gat Ain't Cheap, which is to kill 10 enemies using only your pistol, which is, I don't know if this counts for doing like a finisher. I don't think it does. I think you have to strictly only damage the enemy with the pistol, and the pistol is just like a parry thing. I've very rarely used it as an actual weapon, only to get this achievement. After getting Your Gat Ain't Cheap, I unlocked Art of the Blade, which is to successfully perform 100 parries. I'm still struggling with getting the parry down and missing a parry with these enemies. A lot of them are swinging around stun batons, and if you get hit by all 3 of their strikes from the stun baton, that's it. It's Jover at that point. And after doing that, I unlocked Smuggler's Hideout. The boss for this chapter, I didn't even struggle with her my first try at her. Her name is Kolchev or something like that, and she just goes invisible and runs around the arena, and then will sometimes pop up and give you 2 quick stabs or something. But you can kind of see where she's going by following the footprints in the water, and I would just follow her around, and even when she was invisible, just swing at her and just take pot shots. But yeah, as long as you can parry a lot of her attacks, she's pretty easy. I actually struggled with her on my subsequent playthroughs more for whatever reason. I think mostly because I was trying to make sure I got her finisher. After beating Kolchev, I unlocked Smuggler's Hideout, which is to beat Chapter 3, the Death Panther. So next up, back in the police station, I unlock Otaku, which is to collect all of the figurines. So the claw machines don't have every figurine that you're going to get until after Chapter 3. So I just waited until after Chapter 3 and just got all of the ones I was missing, which was Mr. Holiday, Kolchev, and the gunner from Space Runaway.
Nice.
And after unlocking Otaku, I got Art of the Draw, which is to get 100 handgun counters. I actually got Art of the Draw on the boss battle with Mr. Holiday. I found out a trick with him because I just did not understand how, because you're basically fighting two of them at once, and he's super fast, and he uses blade weapons and guns. So the trick I discovered is once you spawn into the fight, immediately throw a grenade. What you want to happen is one of the Mr. Holidays to run away from the grenade, and then you want the other one to run into the corner of the room to the left of the door. For whatever reason, if that Mr. Holiday is in that corner, you can just continuously hit him, and he'll occasionally try to do his he'll try to shoot his gun at you, and you can just counter it with the handgun. This is where I got the Art of the Draw. But with him being in this corner, the other Mr. Holiday, for whatever reason, doesn't come anywhere near you as long as Mr. Holiday is in that corner. The second Mr. Holiday. So you can just whittle his health down, and once he's dead, you only have to fight the Mr. Holiday that's left. And after beating him, we unlock the last stand for completing the Kowloon Police Department chapter. And into the start of Chapter 4, I unlock my final skill, gaining me the No More to Learn achievement. This is where I thought, man, I am struggling to do this on hard. There is no way I'm doing this on Japanese hard. There's one checkpoint in particular, but I actually ended up getting so frustrated with this chapter that I uninstalled the game. I came back to it later. It's just that in this chapter, the checkpoints are few and far between. Now, after playing it the many times that I have, it is doable now that I have come to grips with the actual game. But yeah, I got so frustrated that I just uninstalled the game. I came back, obviously, the next day, reinstalled my game, and continued. The checkpoint in this chapter that is probably the most difficult is the section where it's several just grunt enemies, but with each group of grunts that runs at you, there's also a white ninja, and then there's a bullshit grenader on a balcony that the first time I ran through, I obviously didn't know he was there, so he one-shotted me. But even sometimes, if you know he's there, you obviously can't get the handgun counter with him up there. It's some issue with the, like, detection, because if the enemy's too far away, Stone will just fire her gun and not at the enemy. So even if you get the timing right for the handgun counter, it's not going to do anything. He still hits you with it. So that dude's bullshit. There's just a bunch of the white ninjas here, and even after running through all of these other enemies, at the end of this checkpoint, you then have to fight two black ninjas at once. I discovered that if you run to the far back, only one of the ninjas will follow you, and your teammates will keep the other ninja distracted. So as long as you can just get that one ninja by itself and just fight it, you know, you still got to get pretty decent at the parries and the handgun counters. This is probably where I got halfway decent at all of that, is because I was stuck on this checkpoint for no joke hours. But yeah, once you beat the 2 ninjas, you then move on, and you then have to fight 2 spider tanks at once. This fight really isn't anything. It's, you know, it's pretty simple. And then finally, your final encounter is with Richter himself. At the start, it's kind of hard to figure out how to fight him. He's really fast, and a lot of his moves you can't parry. But once you realize which moves, like, once you figure out his pattern, you realize that it's going to be, like, 2 swings of the sword, and then is your handgun counter opportunity. The one where he just does a whirlwind of sword attacks. You kind of just roll out of the way and just come back and attack him. But once you figure out how to actually fight him, he's pretty easy to beat. And once he is beaten, we are given a cutscene that I don't understand. It like flashes back to the police department. I don't know if this is before Richter's men storm the police department or after, but he and Captain seem to know each other, and there's some form of final confrontation that we don't know the conclusion of. They've both drawn their weapons on them, and you hear a gunfire, but it's outside the room, so you don't know who shot or who is left alive. But after that cutscene, you then come to Stone in a hotel room on the phone, talking to an orphanage about a boy. Previously in the chapter with one of the collectibles you pick up, it reveals that Stone responded to a call, like a domestic dispute at an apartment complex. The mother, unfortunately, is dead, and while you're there, the father draws his gun on you, so draws his gun on Stone, so she takes him out, and in the bedroom is the son left watching Space Runaway. I believe that's who she's calling about at the end of the game, but after that cutscene, it then flashes back to Stone, like, I don't know, I guess signing up for this program that she's currently enlisted in. That's what I'm saying about the story, is it just, I don't know, it's hard to follow. You can only piece it together, really. You can only make assumptions. But after we see the final cutscene, we unlock the wanted achievement, which was to complete the Kowloon Streets stage. So, I completed my first playthrough on hard. I immediately started my next playthrough on Japanese hard. And once I reached the 3rd chapter, I unlocked Chanbada, which is not only a reference to One Chanbada, but is an achievement for defeating 1,000 enemies only using melee attacks. And for whatever reason, I'm glad I was recording. I was just wanting to show that difficult checkpoint in the final chapter again on Japanese hard. But for whatever reason, I ended up popping the movie buff achievement here, which is to see all memory movies. I don't know why it popped here. I had already played through the game once and seen this cutscene. So it should have popped at the end of my first playthrough, but I'm glad it did. So yeah, and I'm glad I was recording. But after movie buff, I got Gunmaster, which is to defeat 1,000 enemies using only the gun, which I ended up earning on my final playthrough on normal. Once I actually got to Chapter 3. After that, I unlocked True Collector, which is to collect all of the collectibles in the game. I just collected them within my 3 different playthroughs. during one of the patches, they actually added a stat tracker in the main menu, so you can kind of keep track of all of your, your finishing strikes and the collectibles, how many enemies you've killed with guns, all of that good stuff. So I was kind of worried that you would have to get all of the collectibles in a single playthrough, but thankfully it popped once I got my final collectible in my last playthrough. After that, I got Severance Pays. The last finisher I was missing was on Mr. Holiday, and I got pretty lucky here, and because I don't know if it's the way I defeat him by pushing him into the corner, but for whatever reason, it just very rarely gave me the ability to do a finisher on him. But thankfully, on my final playthrough, I actually was able to get the last finisher I needed and got my Severance Pays achievement. After Severance Pays, I completed my last playthrough on normal, unlocking Emma Lautner, which is, I'm trying to remember what her first name is. I cannot remember her first name. But Emma Lautner is Stone's actual name. But after beating the game 3 times, I then decided that I was going to start the game up on Neko-chan mode, which is the easiest mode in the game. It makes Stone wear cat ears, and I unlocked the No Needles achievement, which is to complete a chapter without using the stim pack. I did discover at the end of chapter 1, fighting the spider tank, that you can die while doing the No Needles achievement. You just can't heal. As I said, the spider tank is kind of bullshit in his second phase, so he got me. And then it was several weeks after No Needles that I unlocked my final, what should have been my final 2 achievements, which are Gamer and Quarter Eater, for beating Space Runaway and then beating Space Runaway on hard, respectively. So I tried when you're first introduced to the shoot 'em up game, and I could barely get past the first stage. I couldn't, in its original form, I could not get past the second stage. I couldn't even make it to the boss of the second stage. But after a few weeks, they did release a patch which updated the shooting game. I would like to commend anyone that actually beat Space Runaway on hard. Hell, for beating it on normal in its original form. I've hardly played any shoot 'em ups in my life, so I could not for the life of me do Space Runaway. But they updated it. On normal, you get more lives and bombs after you complete a chapter. You get 10 lives and 10 bombs each completion, and when you die, you don't restart the stage like previously. Previously, when you died, you would restart from the checkpoint with none of your abilities, and I just couldn't do it. With this update, when you got hit, it would just cause you to blink, but you would retain all of your power-ups that you would gain. The only time you would lose it is if you lost all of your continues, and then you had to start from the last checkpoint with none of your stuff, which sucked. In its new form, I beat it on normal pretty easily. Hard, I got to the final boss and accidentally grabbed the fucking homing attack. And anyone that's played Space Runaway knows that the homing attack is not useful unless you're trying to kill shit that's off screen. So, it very nearly cost me the fucking achievement, because I was down to my last life. I had no bombs left, but I was able to beat the final boss on hard, unlocking me the Quarter Eater achievement. Now, after getting Quarter Eater, I should have unlocked Wanted Dead, which is to get all achievements in the game. So you can imagine my surprise when that did not happen. And I did all of the typical stuff. Resetting the Xbox, deleting the local save, downloading the save from the cloud, clearing the cache of the Xbox. I even tried reinstalling the game. I deleted my local save and cloud save and started over, hoping it would pop the achievement. I talked to Wanted Dead. Well, I messaged Wanted Dead on Twitter. I tried talking to people from Microsoft and Xbox, and I could not for the life of me get this achievement to pop. If you've seen the video I posted, which has since been removed, because spoiler, I finally got it to pop. So this video is taking place of that one. I talked about how, like, I would wake up and just be stressing about this achievement. I know it's probably like some form of obsessive compulsive behavior, but I mean, that's just the way I work. Like, especially with the final achievement, like, I just couldn't give up on it. Like, there were other games that I wanted to play, but I just kept thinking, like, man, I want that achievement. And at the time of doing this, when I got Quarter Eater and should have unlocked the Wanted Dead achievement, I would have been the 5th person on True Achievements to get all of the achievements in this game. By the time I actually did get it to unlock, I was the 11th person to get all the achievements. So 5 other people got it before I did, and it was just mind-boggling. Like, why did all these other people get the achievement, but I didn't? I did notice one other person that didn't get this achievement. So if for whatever reason that person sees this, the way I finally got the final achievement to pop was I played through the game again and completed each task as if I was going to unlock the achievement associated with that task. I played the game through 3 more times. I did the no needles, got all the 1,000 kills with melee and the guns, got all of the finishers again, collected all the collectibles, did all the miscellaneous stuff like changing the song on the jukebox, kicking the claw machine, getting all the figures. I did everything again. And finally, once I got my final kill with the melee weapon, I unlocked my Wanted Dead achievement. And I cannot tell you how ecstatic I was to actually get it. I know, it's kind of pathetic, but I was so happy. I was doing all of that thinking this isn't going to work. Like, the only way I'm going to get this is if the developers patch it. Something else is wrong. But thankfully, that was the fix. So, if that person that also got every achievement but was not rewarded their final achievement like they deserved sees this, that is the way, at least right now, at the time of me getting it, at the time of me filming this voiceover, or recording this voiceover, that is how you unlock the achievement, is you have to basically do it all over again. So, what can I say about Wanted Dead? It's not a great game. It's buggy at times. It feels like the game is constantly working against you. There are frame rate drops. Sometimes it feels like if you're backed up against the wall, your parry won't work. The camera is constantly freaking out on you. The fucking enemies are kind of bullshit. But I liked it enough to stress weeks over not getting the final achievement. If this was some fucking bullshit game that I didn't at least somewhat enjoy, I wouldn't fucking have worried about it. I would have been able to give up. But I will say that the finishers are cool. The fact that the developers were at least trying to listen to feedback and make it better. They fixed the mini games. I don't think with what they did with the first ninja encounter, like making it a mini boss and giving him a checkpoint there, I think once you learn how to play the game, that's not really necessary. But hey, they were listening to feedback. It was a year after this game came out, and they actually patched it, which is crazy. Granted, the game should have come out in a working order to begin with, but hell, they fucking, you know, they did something. I'm not going to give them all of the... I'm not going to give them an award or anything because I had to play the game again to get my final achievement. I had to do everything again to get my final achievement. So, it is a doable full completion. I'll say if you want to go for the Wanted Dead full completion, go for it. Just keep in mind that if you don't unlock your final achievement, you gotta do it all over again. I don't think this is an issue on PlayStation. I tried looking up to see if anyone had ever had a glitched platinum trophy, but it seems that that is just not heard of. That doesn't happen. So if you play it on PlayStation, at least PS5, they're rolling out a patch for PS4, I think in a few weeks, but probably play it on PlayStation, PS5. That way you won't have any issues. But the hardest achievement of the game was definitely Wanted Dead for me. Before that, it would have been Ramen World Legend, but they've since fixed it to where that's a more accessible task to do. And I'll give this game a 5 out of 10. You know, it's... The developers kind of ran with the long-lost PlayStation title. They know it's not a great game, and they're kind of playing into that it's like so bad it's good. I wish they would kind of fix some of the like mechanical issues with the game. But they are still patching it. At least I would assume so. They're active on Twitter. They're communicative. So I'm going to assume that they're going to kind of take people's feedback into account. But, yeah, that was the Wanted Dead full completion. I am happy to add this to my gamer card. This is my 99th full completion. And with this, I can finally start on not only what is going to be my final 1,000 gamer score to 250,000, but it will be my 100th full completion on my Xbox profile. So if that's something you'd be interested in, consider subscribing so you can check back whenever that comes out. If you're attempting to go for the Wanted Dead full completion, leave me some comments down below. Maybe I can help you out if you're struggling on something, or you can just let me know how you're enjoying the game. Leave a like if you liked this video, but other than that, check back next time for whatever I do. Bye-bye.